Hello, BookTube. I was watching a video earlier today by Kevin Towle at Kevin Towle Reads. Fantastic BookTube channel. I'll leave a link to it down below. You really shouldn't let it fly below your radar. Uh, and it was a discussion video. He brought up a subject and wanted to ask about it. Just genuinely ask about it and give some of his thoughts on the subject. And as chance would have it, is a subject that I also wanted to do a Steve probe about. I figure you've had time to recover from your last Steve probe. So I figured now the two of us, medical colleagues, will probe you together. And the subject is book ratings, which I think is going to be a near universal subject because a lot of you spend a lot of time on Goodreads. Not just to inventory your books, but also to rate them. Goodreads is synonymous with its star system, with rating books. Although I think it would be fair to say that Goodreads doesn't have a star system, that it in fact has 20 million star systems. Because everybody has to append their own definition of what they mean. Everybody plays around with Goodreads' own definitions of what the star ratings mean. And even if you don't do Goodreads, you're familiar with Amazon. We live in a ratings world. We live in a ratings culture, whether it's Amazon or Yelp or whatever. We're constantly, if you do it, you shouldn't, but I'll get to that. We're constantly rating everything in the world, everything that you do, no matter what. You get an email follow-up the next day saying, would you rate your experience? And I am naturally involved in the subject of book ratings because I don't want to say it's what I do for a living. It's not what I do for a living. I review books for a living. But a lot of people, most people, I would guess, would probably say that those two things are the same. They aren't the same, but a lot of people would say that, you're just rating a book. That's all. And so, since I've got what I feel like is a little bit of skin in the game, I thought I would put the question before you. Ask a lot of the questions that Kevin Towle asked in his own video. Which is, what is your relationship with book ratings? And how much do they affect what you do? Even if you're not on Goodreads, even if you've never reviewed or rated a book in your life, do you notice, are you more likely to decide to read a 3-star book versus a 2-star book, a 5-star book versus a 3-star book? Do you have a kind of morbid curiosity about 1-star books, even though you don't know the person who's leaving the star? Do book ratings matter to you? I guess we could say the same thing about restaurant ratings by star systems or movie ratings by star systems. I've made it clear on this channel many, many times over the years, over the thousands and thousands of videos. I've made it very clear that I think that leaving anything else aside, when it comes to books, the whole idea of a rating system is completely antithetical to the experience. It cannot be helpful. It actually, literally cannot be helpful. Asking whether or not a book is a 5-star book is like asking a total stranger that you meet for the first time whether or not an appendectomy is a great operation. It's entirely dependent on individual circumstances. An appendectomy for a person who's already had their appendix out would be a terrible operation. You need to know a lot more, and rating systems are predicated on the fact that you don't need to know anything. How on earth can you know that a book you rate as 4 stars is a 4-star rating to everyone who will read your review? You don't know. You don't know. I have all my life, all my reading life, I've prided myself on taking book recommendations very seriously. I don't just make blanket recommendations. I probe and palpate all over to find out what you've read, what you like, what you don't like, what specific thing you're looking for in this particular reading moment in your life, what things you definitely don't want, etc., etc., in every detail imaginable. Every detail imaginable. When I used to work in a bookstore, I was the recommendation guy, and customers knew that if they were coming to me for a book recommendation, that meant that I was going to come around the edge of my information desk, take them by the elbow, and walk off to a quiet corner. It was going to be a conversation. It wasn't just going to see, here you go, take this. I wanted to know a lot more about what you were looking for so that my recommendation would land. I came to care about that a great deal. And there's another version of that. The two versions of these things that I've been doing, I actually do both of them now, thanks to BookTube. There's recommending a book to someone, and there's reviewing a book. I'm tempted mentally to leave out rating because I don't get the rating system at all. I don't want to have to learn algebra to know what you thought about a book. We're all in books for nuance. We're all in books for multiplicity of meanings. why on earth would I want you to reduce that to a star or a number of stars? No, if you've read a book and you feel like it, I want to know about it. Tell me about it. And that reflects the dual nature of what we're talking about here. We've talked about this on this channel many times. There's whether or not you like a book and why. And there's whether or not a book is good and why. And there are so many people out there, including experienced readers, who think those are the same thing. And they're not, of course. They're not. They think it's the same thing because they don't want, somehow, some people don't like the idea of liking something that's not good. I don't know how those people are still out there. Obviously, Garb August has a lot more work to do. You are perfectly free. In fact, you are encouraged to like things that aren't good. I like a ton of things that aren't good. But that doesn't mean that there is no such thing as a thing that's good. That doesn't mean that at all. Books are not the only thing that humans ever do, ever encounter, or ever indulge in that cannot be objectively assessed. Of course, they are not the only exception. There aren't any exceptions to what's good and bad. What you like and don't like is separate completely from that, and it is inviolable. If you tell me that The Road by Cormac McCarthy is a great book, well, you are wrong. And I can prove it. I can prove it by taking you through the book. In fact, I have 4 videos doing that. Chapter by chapter, section by section, where I leave you as a defender of that book's objective quality literally nowhere to go. When you watch and listen to my objections that I list in those videos, the only thing you can say about The Road is what you should have started by saying, which is that I like it. Either that, or you can be one of the diehard dude bros that have responded to those videos by saying, well, the book doesn't have to make sense. Okay. All right. Think Cormac McCarthy would be pleased with that as a line of defense? No. The only place I leave you to go with those videos is the place you should have started with, which is, I like it. And if that's all you said, if you said, I like Stoner and that's all there is to it, not it's the greatest book ever written, I would not touch you. I would not object in any way. I might say, well, you could learn to like better things, but I wouldn't say you were wrong to like it. They're two separate things. And I think I have been waging a war for my whole life against the artificial blurring of those two things. The artificial blurring of those two things is it's absolutely horrible when it comes to the book world. I'll leave aside anything else. Although, if we were to talk about anything else, if we do keep them apart with anything else. If a bored 39-year-old Manhattan housewife whose husband died under mysterious circumstances 2 years ago, she's got $70 million and she got the condo completely rent-free. If she decides at age 39 that she wants a makeover, so horrifying plastic surgery, maybe cement derivatives injected into her butt, well, she's going to say, I love it. But objectively, it's horrible. Objectively, that is a horrible thing to do to your body. So we do keep them separate in every other area, but I worry that when it comes to books, we don't. I know for a fact that we don't. And I worry also that a lot of the stars that are bestowed on books, 1 star all the way to 5 stars on places like Goodreads, but especially Goodreads, which is where the readers are. I worry that a lot of the stars that are given on those books are given with those two ideas just merged together, which doesn't do books any good. It doesn't do a bad book any good for you to say that it's great because you liked it. That is never going to make a better book out of a bad book, and it's never going to decrease the number of bad books in the world. And yet, when you go on Goodreads, I spend a lot of time on Goodreads. I don't participate in it as much as I should. I really should. When you spend a lot of time on Goodreads, you see that I would say 9 times out of 10, a person is giving a book a 5-star rating because they liked it, without really often even giving a thought to whether or not it's any good. I'm sure they think that those two things are the same, that one betokens the other, which, a nice, pretty high opinion of yourself that you have there, that you think if you like something, it must be good, and that the more you like it, the better it is. No, that is not true. You can have bad taste, or, much more to the point, almost no experience in assessing what you're looking at, whether it's books or anything else. So I always like to draw a distinction between the two. And in answer to Kevin Towle's question, do book ratings matter? I say book star ratings of the Goodreads kind absolutely don't matter. In fact, they can't matter. How on earth can you give a book a 3-star rating to an audience you don't know, to a prospective reader you've never met? That's a book review that you're talking about. And that's not done on Goodreads. Almost never. A book review is the other side of that fence. A book review is a reviewer saying, regardless of whether or not I liked this book, here's how I assess it on its own objective merits and on the in its tradition. So it's a U.S. Grant biography. I'm going to assess it on its merits, but I've also read 20 U.S. Grant biographies. I'm going to assess it in that tradition as well. And those assessments, depending on how good a critic you are, of course, those assessments don't have anything to do with whether or not you liked it and will not change from season to season or mood to mood. That's separate. And that you can do, but that won't be a star system. that won't be any kind of thumbs up or thumbs down. That will be a long, sometimes overlong, sometimes very long, detailed, nuanced criticism of something. It won't be, I gave this 2 stars. What does that even mean? I don't know you. You don't know me. So 2 stars, what does that even mean? I have no idea what that signifies, what it could possibly signify. So when we're talking about, the only reason that I'm distinguishing here is because I don't think a lot of people draw the distinction and pull these things apart the way they should be. A doctor at Mount Sinai can do the greatest heart transplant surgery in the world. But if you're 18 and your heart is just fine, that's a bad operation for you. That's a really bad operation for you. There's no way for you to give that operation a star system. You need to contextualize it. I think the same thing is true. If we're going to say that about an operation, which is removing one lug nut from one engine to another, then how can we not say that about the most complicated thing that we do, which is books? So if we remove reviewing, which is the assessing of a book, which is a skill, it is a discipline, has a long history, it is a thing that happens. But it's not usually a thing I think that people are thinking of when they're thinking about what kind of star rating they're going to give a book. I think they're thinking about that more in terms of what did I like and what didn't I like. And maybe a lot of people out there think that is a book review. I've tried to go over on this channel a few times. It's not. It might be a tiny part of a book review. It's the least important, the first thing that any editor would cut. No, we'll leave those aside. On the whole other side of the question is, I think, what Kevin Towle is actually talking about, which is book ratings. And what I would like to suggest, I'm not supposed to suggest things in a Steve probe. I'm supposed to be asking you, but you'll be sure to tell me what you think, I'm sure. And go over and tell Kevin Towle what you think as well. Go to his channel and respond to his points. But what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to book ratings, not reviews, but here's how I codify what I thought about it, what I liked and didn't like, I would like to get rid of ratings. They are brainless. They are a totally, totally inadequate way of assessing how you reacted to a book. As I've said many times before, if you go up to someone and you say, what did you think of Gone with the Wind? And they say, well, and you say, no, just your star rating. Then you don't care what they thought about the book, and they shouldn't care about talking to you. Nothing good comes from reducing something like a book to that. And no one's in that much of a hurry. I know we all have such a great idea in the 21st century about what kind of hurry we're in, but no one's in that kind of a hurry. If you want to know what someone thought about a book, you want to know what they thought about a book. You don't want to know what star number they gave it. You want to know what they thought about it. And that will determine whether or not you maybe want to read it. Leaving apart book reviews here. Just talking about ratings. Personal reactions of likes and dislikes. How many times? Apart from an objective assessment of the book, how many times has someone's enthusiasm for a book made you want to read it? Or me want to read it? That happens to me all the time, and I'm a professional book critic. That happens to me all the time. And if that's true, just on that side of the equation, just for the reaction to a book, as opposed to the review of it, just the reaction, can we maybe stop trying to codify reactions with stars and thumbs up and whatnot? Can we just stop doing that and just shift to, okay, you read this book, what did you think of it? Tell me about it. If I want to invest 30 hours in reading a book, I think I can spare 10 minutes to hear what you thought about it. So for those of you who are addicted to Goodreads, one thing I do know about the site and have been indulging in for years now is that you're not required to give a star rating to anything. Don't. Just stop doing it. But Whether you do or not, whether you're going to stop or not, I know a lot of you love your star ratings and the intricacies of half stars and whatnot. I still want to know what you think of it. How big a part do book ratings play in your bookish life? When you're looking for something, let's say maybe you don't care about it at all. Maybe you just go to used bookstores or libraries and find out whatever they have to serve up to you. But if you're looking for something new, if you're finding something new, do you pay attention to book ratings? Do they determine what you do? Let me give you an example here. This thing. This is either out now or it's coming out soon. This is a new translation of Aesop's Fables. Are you going to look on Amazon and Goodreads and see how many stars this gets on average? And are you going to stop there? If you do that, are you going to read the reviews? Or are you just going to look at the stars? Or are you going to ignore all of that stuff and consult the critics that you know? Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe when you're assessing whether or not what the next book is that you want to read, you're only concerned with what people liked and didn't like about it and not an objective review of the book itself. Maybe you're not concerned with that. Maybe you want to go for reactions. Okay, so when you get reactions, which is what ratings are, do you investigate? Do you read how people are justifying their star ratings? Or do you just go by the number? Hoping you just don't go by the number. But I'm curious, either way. And also I want to know, of course, all the Goodreads details. I've had many videos about Goodreads on this channel asking you how you use it and what kind of a role it plays in your reading life, just as a book reader. I definitely want to know about that. Do you look at star ratings on Goodreads? Do you investigate what they mean for each person who posts them? I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating in large part because, as I mentioned, we are more of a reviewing culture now than we have ever been in human history. You'd think I'd be in hog heaven as a reviewer, but I don't like the way a lot of it is done. So we are asked to review everything all the time. You absolutely should not do that. That is you giving something to someone for free. Instead, if someone's asking you over and over again, what'd you think about this? Okay, you just bought this Mac product. What'd you think of it? Okay, you just bought this Mac. Yeah, just downloaded this Mac app. What'd you think about it? You just downloaded this service. What'd you think about it? Instead of writing what you think about it, create a space of your own, write what you thought about it there, and make them come to you. Instead of you giving your stuff to them, you giving writing to them. But that's a video for another day. All the work that we do for people for free is a video for another day. This one is about book ratings. I was beaten to the Steve probe by Kevin Towle Reads, but it was just as well because I want to sing his praises anyway. And I haven't done a Last Week in BookTube in a while to sing the praises of anybody. So go to his channel and subscribe. You're going to love it. But also tell me all about book ratings. Do you indulge in them? Do you do star ratings? Do you make a point of it? Do you agonize over it? And do you notice it when other people do it? Tell me all. I will wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.